So we're on more constructions. Alright, so we'll go over again Geometry Sketchpad on this one. So for number 21, what's going to happen is our construction for the perpendicular bisector won't work here. It'll miss P if P is not exactly in the center, which it's not. So we have to try something else. So we'll go ahead and start a new sketch. So I'm going to construct that segment, label those, and throw P somewhere on here. All right. So what I'm saying is if we try to draw the perpendicular bisector, it's going to miss P. It's going to end up right about here. So how do we get a point, or sorry, how do we get a perpendicular line through the point? That's a little tricky. What I typically do is I find a new second endpoint. So I'll go to the closer one and I'll say, okay, put the center of the compass tool on P, and let's go to this endpoint and draw a circle. Usually I pick the smaller one, okay? And what happens is now that is going to be the same distance, so A is the same distance from this new point that I created, okay? Now because P's the center of the circle that I used to make that, you know that that's in the middle of those 2 points right here, okay? So now I'm going to go back and now that I've established this, now I'm going to run my perpendicular bisector through A and this new point. So again, I'll pick a random radius. It'll be, more than, I always try to tell my students, just go more than halfway, and they get what I'm saying after a while. Okay? Construct the circle by center and radius. Don't hit these points, though. That's going to be a little bit tricky. Let me put this as a different color here. So we'll put we'll make it a thicker, or, let's just make this dashed. Remember, don't run into that one. Okay, let's make sure we don't use that point. Okay, we're going to put our compass tool center there, and then use the same radius we did on this circle here, right? So, and make that thin. Okay, so now again, we're back to that same construction, perpendicular bisector. Okay, so what we want to do, and then that line's definitely perpendicular to AB, which is what we wanted, and it passes through point P. So what I'm trying to teach you, the methods I'm going for are trying to make sure that there's not so many different methods. We're trying to use one method for many problems, and they're all connected. So that's the goal here. So your teachers may do it differently. They have their reasons. This is why I do it the way I do it. So there's less to teach, less topics, and you're just going to use the same ideas over and over again. All right, so then let's go to the next one, where this is another one that I might go through. So number 22 is really similar to 21, but now the point is off the line, okay? So basically what we'll do is we'll go through that again. Okay, so we'll construct a segment, and then they put B up here off the line. I don't know. So let's call this we'll call them X and Y. Okay, and then they constructed this. They called it B, so let's do that. Yeah, that's fine. So that's B. All right, so this is a little tricky. The intent of this question is like the other one, okay? And it's a little strange. Again, it's closer to one point than the other. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to construct that circle again, okay? Notice that my circle hits X, but it doesn't hit Y. If you pick the long point, you can always extend the line with their straight edge. So what I'm saying is these 2 points are now the same distance from B, and you need that. because now B's equidistant from these 2 points. Remember perpendicular bisector? We're now going to finish the perpendicular bisector of, but these 2 points. You're guaranteed that it's going to hit B because these 2 points are the same distance from B. Okay? So again, we're going to construct the perpendicular bisector by center point on X. Use that radius. It's a good size radius. Okay. Again, don't use this one though. Don't try to keep track of that. This one has nothing to do with the next portion. Same size radius as you used here, but now put your center of your compass tool there. Okay, construct that circle. Gotta make it thin. Okay. Again, are you noticing we did it for several different constructions? We picked 2 points. All right, we picked a segment, 2 points, and then we constructed the perpendicular bisector through it. Now watch, there's the perpendicular bisector. If we did it right without any minor errors, that didn't work. Too many points there. So just want to go through these 2. If we did this without any errors, it does pass through B. Okay? That's not how I taught my students, but this is how that's the intent of the problem. There is another way that you guys saw from class. Pick whatever way you like. Okay? So that's perpendicular through a point. What do we got? The last one here, the last construction is the worst one. Parallel through a point. Okay, this is going to use our knowledge of parallel lines cut by a transversal. Okay? Going to be a crazy one, but we'll get through it. So let's do this again. We'll label these X and Y again. All right, and then they put B up here. So we're going to label point B. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to pick, we're going to just put a random line through B, okay? And that's going to be our transversal. So I'm going to connect these with a straight edge. This point has, there's no rhyme or reason for it. Okay, so I'm going to do the same construction. You're probably going to see this is usually a part 1 question. This is not usually a part 2 where you have to construct it. What we're going to do is, see this intersection right here? There's going to be an angle from here to here, okay? We're going to use what's called corresponding angles. We're going to copy an angle. We're going to copy an angle. We're going to copy this angle right here, and we're going to put it up here. We're going to copy it up here and get the same congruent angle, and then it's going to use corresponding angles are congruent. So watch this. So I'm going to get a small radius that I'm going to use, okay? And I'm going to put a circle with that radius right there. And whatever that radius is, I also have to put that same circle here. You'll see why in a minute. Those might, oh boy, we don't want those to cross. If you can make it a little smaller so they don't cross, that'd be better. Okay? Now, the size of the angle, remember, is how far apart those 2 are. So that's the size of the angle right there. Remember, this is the size of the angle this far from the vertex. Oops. So we're going back to the same knowledge as before. That is, this right here is the size of the angle this far from the vertex. Okay. Now what we're going to do is, see this point right here? It's the same as this one. If I go the same distance from here as this is, what we're going to then establish is the same sized angle. Now that seems crazy, so put your compass center right here. Okay, how we have to do it is actually we have to measure first. We have to measure the same way we copied a segment. So put your compass tool there and measure that. Okay, So you're going to construct a circle. I know this is getting crazy right here. All right. We're going to put that as dashed here. I know this is getting to be a lot, but this is showing that we measured the size of the angle. It's really just measuring that segment, okay? Now come up here with your center compass tool, so it's just like we put our center here, right? Now we got to use that same radius centered here. Right there. Now where this dashed crosses here is the same as that point. I know it's a lot, but and then if you connect this to that, it'll be parallel to this line. Okay. Now what we're really using here in this case is right there. This, let's call it angle 1, and this is, we'll call it angle 2. Okay. Angle 1 and angle 2 are corresponding angles. When corresponding angles are congruent, lines cut by a transversal must be parallel. And that's the concept we're using. Now, really look at this carefully, okay? This is never one that they ask us to construct because it's really hard. But you do have to recognize it on a part 1, and we'll show you that throughout the year. Okay? Good luck. This is not going to be the one that we put on the test, but one of the other ones, which is reasonable, will be. All right, good luck.